seeing a multipolar world where it's completely fractured, and we're seeing trade completely upended.
Michael, welcome to Forbes in Focus.
Thank you, Rebecca.
We're living in very interesting political times at the moment. Let's talk about what's really different about this political environment. In what way are we entering, or have we entered a new paradigm?
US and China have always been at some form of war of some type, but this one is overtly aggressive. Stylistically, we've never seen this style of geopolitical tension before, where you're seeing the American government, who's been the policeman of basically the Western world for many, many decades in World War II, suddenly being overtly aggressive to allies. And we're just not used to this. And right now, at the cost of allies and at the cost of relationships, you're seeing prices in these markets go down, which is to the benefit both to China and to America.
Particularly around semiconductor technology and AI. Why is this specific area so critical for traders to monitor?
Right now, my viewpoint of chips and basically access to the best technology is almost the new oil crisis, where the digital age and having oversight and power over having dominance in that sector is exactly what we've seen over the last 50 years when it comes to energy. So there is an absolute fight going on. It's not going to be a kinetic fight. It's going to be about access to the best chips, making sure those companies are in your domestic borders. I believe what we're seeing now is actually as a adjunct to what we saw during the COVID crisis, and this is about supply, and it's about dominance of supply and making sure during crisis that you've got access to these key assets.
Geopolitical headlines, whether it be wars or global crises or elections, often dominate headlines. How do these things generally influence financial markets, and why might a trader have a different approach to them than a casual observer?
If we look back at 2024, not only the fact that we saw it was the Biden era, but there was actually, I think, in record, it was one of the highest number of elections we've ever seen in history, both democratic elections and also almost non-democratic elections, if there's such a thing. We've seen most governments actually change through 2024. We've actually seen destabilisation throughout the Western economies as new governments are coming in and actually employing a new fiscal policy, as we're seeing in front of us, and potentially a different influence in a new political platform. The Fed Reserve may have to come into action and reduce rates as a result of buffering the situation in the US economy. So right now, I think you absolutely have to be at the forefront of what's going on with governments, who's in power, what's their political platform, how do they plan to express that political platform. These are all having high impacts on investments and day-to-day trading.
There's a view that markets often price in geopolitical events well before they're widely reported. Why is it important for traders to understand this?
The problem with the current geopolitical situation is there's no end to it. Because when we're talking about trade, there is no end to the fact that it has almost an infinite impact to forward earnings. And that's why markets right now are finding it very, very difficult to price. We don't know what the true ramifications are right now. We're seeing a direct impact on macroeconomic forces, a direct impact on interest rates, potentially future inflation. We're seeing a multipolar world where it's completely fractured, and we're seeing trade completely upended. We've spent the last 40 years where globalization was a positive, where it was seeing capital being funneled to the highest efficient countries. We saw import and export unhindered with any forms of really tariffs. Right now, that order is completely upended. We don't know the consequences of what we're dealing with, and it's going to take many, many quarters or years to really see the true impacts. We're going to start seeing them, I think, within the next 3 to 6 months, but really, there's unintended consequences, and we just don't know yet.
Where should traders be focusing their attention now?
It's all about capacity, right? There's only so many initiatives and topics you can actually focus on in any one time. So what can traders do? You can sort of see two forms of flows going on. We saw German markets, for example, perform extremely well in the early end. So basically from January and February of this year, we're starting to see lots of flows back into Germany on the back of a new military budget, a new government, and a promise to start lifting military budgeting across not only Germany, but across all of Europe. Secondly, if you believe in the US initiatives, you're going to see the domestic economy, and particularly small caps to mid caps within the US index markets, should start benefiting, where we're saying see focus back. Now, right now, the Russell index, for example, has performed extremely poorly over the last couple of years. And so you could see this as deep value when you're starting to see flows and focus back on, within the US.
That's a very complex situation we've been talking about today. There's a huge amount to unpack there. Thank you so much for shedding some light on it.
Yeah, it was an honour and it was a pleasure to do it today. Thank you.